Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Think Big Bodybuilding Media here at YouTube. Advice is radio if you're listening on audio. This program is brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. You can use our code ADVICES for some additional savings on high-quality supplements from a company that you can trust. Plus, if you use our code, it'll let them know that you support what we are doing here at the networks. All right, guys, we are back on the road to nationals, and with us today is Brent Swansen as he prepares for the super heavyweight division. Brent is no stranger to the national stage. He's competed nationally 8 times now, and in those 8 shows, he's placed top 5 8 times. So he's been on the cusp since he hit the national level, and we are crossing our fingers for him that this will be the year that he turns pro. Welcome back to Think Big Bodybuilding Media here on YouTube. If you're listening on audio, you're listening to Advices Radio. Guys, if you haven't yet, subscribe. And today we've got with us Brent Swansen. He's getting ready for nationals. If you ask Dave Calic, he's going to win this thing. I was talking to Dave the other day. What's going on, man? How you been?
I'm good, man. It's just another Saturday, 3.5 weeks out from nationals. So just doing my thing.
Hell yeah. You've got a smile on your face still. It's like, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You're already back from the gym. Was that cardio or was that training?
No, that was training. So I trained legs this morning with my lifting partner. I actually don't usually like training partners, but there's a guy that I found, and he pushes me to the max. He's always there on time. When I don't have the energy, he loads the plates for me. And I mean, he gets everything out of me. And I think, that's something the last few years that I've had now that I didn't before, just because most people I wouldn't let lift with me because they would just get in the way, whereas actually he's beneficial. So he's got kids. So we had to hit early today, and then I'll go back this afternoon for about a little over an hour of cardio.
Right on. What was his name, by the way?
His name's Mason White. He started competing a few years ago. He placed 4th at junior nationals this year and won his class at Kim and Chad's show. The one they have in May, I think that's Muscle Mayhem.
Okay.
So,
well, shout out to Mason then. Man, we've got so much to talk about here. But before we even get to the bodybuilding, I wanted to ask you about being a teacher, because it's a unique education. I know a lot of us in bodybuilding, it's like, we have a side hustle. We're like personal trainers. Yeah, there's a lot more people. I mean, I know your wife is a doctor of physical therapy, is it?
Correct.
So
yes.
The ladies, they have their lives together. A lot of us guys, we just, reality is that a lot of us don't. We're personal trainers and whatever else. But you have an actual life outside of bodybuilding. What do you teach?
I teach high school physical education, health, and driver's education.
Okay.
Currently, I'm actually going back. This is my 12th year teaching. I'm going back right now to try to get on the other side of the pay and get administrative pay. So I'm actually getting my 2nd master's degree in administration. So I don't think right off the bat I want to be a principal, but once the whole bodybuilding thing's over with and I have more free time that's going to take to be an administrator, I kind of want to get on that side of education in the future. So I'm just trying to set myself up. I'm just trying to set my future up so I'm not just have to rely on bodybuilding my whole life.
Well, first of all, God bless you for teaching driver's education. There's no way you can get me in that car. You've got to have a story. What was the worst?
Well, I had a story. I had a story this past week, and it wasn't even the kids. So okay. I have a brake, and I have, I can control the wheel, and I've done it for so long it doesn't really scare me. But I live in Decatur, but I drive in Bethany. I teach in Bethany, which is a small farm town. Everybody's a farmer, very hardworking town. Anyways, it's harvesting time.
Okay.
I'm at a stop sign with kids. Totally stopped. A semi's turning left. In the back end of the semi, literally, he didn't take a wide enough turn. And I see that semi, the back end of the semi, literally inching towards the car. And I'm beeping my horn. Yeah. And literally, he's skidding his tires when he finally stopped. Literally, if I hadn't beat my horn, his end of his semi was about 2 foot from just smashing our car in. And it was just so funny because I was about to just if it would have just been me in the car, I probably would have got out of the car and what are you doing? And I was like, I'm a teacher. Right. I have a kid in the car. This probably isn't the smartest thing to do if I want to have a job.
Right. Not to mention, instill, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, exactly.
You get out of the car and beat his ass.
You should have road rage.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't have fought him anyways, So it's like, if you're driving a semi and you can't even make a left turn and you're going to hit a driver's education car, like, right. Yeah. So it's some, sometimes you get in some pretty sticky situations.
I imagine that the kids have to look at you differently than they do the other teachers.
I would say so. I mean, so before I taught at this job, I did teach in the city of Decatur, very different climate, very more urban, whereas I teach more in a rural district. The kids, all teachers are yes, sir, no, sir. I mean, it's you don't see that a lot these days. You don't see that level of respect. Yeah. But, the way we have our PE set up 3 days a week, they're in the weight room, no matter if they're an athlete or, a computer, person. And then one day a week they have plyometric training, and then one day a week they have a game day. So everything's very structured. They have a whole semester like logbook where they have to log everything in. And obviously I'm not training these kids to be bodybuilders. I'm just training them to just know the basics of the gym, how to take care of their bodies, because in education right now, we can teach them all the finite math we want, but these kids don't even know how to look at the back of a nutrition label, and stay healthy, let alone how to lift weights or, do any type of programming. And with the way our country is going, I just feel like that's so important that those kids are getting that education. And it's sad, too, because Illinois is a state where you have to have physical education to graduate. A lot of states now with budget cuts and everything are not making that a requirement. So kids aren't getting it at school. They're not learning about these things. Where else are they going to learn them from?
I didn't realize that. Yeah, I know physical education was mandatory in my high school, but I could see that, they're cutting so much out nowadays. And I also think back, I feel like, for me and for the kids that I knew that got into weightlifting, it was in that age group. It was like, I think for me, it was junior high, 9th grade is when I got, like 8th grade, when I got really into it. I had my own split by the time I was in 9th grade. And I spent years, not focusing on bodybuilding, but I did get back into it. And when I did, I looked back at those early days. I look back at those early times and they meant a lot to me. There was a lot of seeds, I guess I should say, that were planted for me at that time. Have you seen any of the kids that have taken an interest that you see like, oh man, this kid has some potential, for instance?
Yeah. I mean, like, for instance, I know this is going to sound bad, but I feel like to bodybuild at a high level just takes a certain breed of kid. And that's just kind of stuff. I feel like to be a bodybuilder, it's kind of like you got to be called to do it. You kind of have to have something a little bit off in your head to want to do everything that we do. Yeah. But every year there's a local powerlifting meet, and I get a team of high school kids, and they have a high school division. We all go, and it's squat, bench, deadlift. And I know the guy who runs it, so I'm usually judging and everything like that. So doing that, like a lot of the kids have done that, and it's just funny now because a lot of the kids continue to work out. And if they do have questions on exercises or how to do certain movements or splits or whatever, we're in the age now where it's so easily to get a hold of people. The kids will just Facebook message me or DM me on Instagram and ask me the questions, and obviously I shoot right back because I've done my job if they're continuing to work out and try to take care of themselves. So
that's really cool, man. That's a cool place to be in life and to be able to help kids like that. So let's talk about this prep. So like you said, you're about 3.5 weeks. Is that what you said we're at right now? So
yes, sir. 3.5 weeks out.
So this will probably come out a little bit later, about 3 weeks out then from the time that you'll be competing. Were you third place was it last year at nationals?
Yeah. So last year, I'm trying to think. So I placed in 8 national shows, and I've done 8 national shows.
Okay.
So I did USA's, I got 5th, and then I was like, okay, let's do nationals. So did nationals, came in 3rd. It's funny because Hunter won. Sean Smith got 2nd. I mean, like, whatever, he won, but I thought that I could have been 2nd. And, it was just one of those things. I went back to the room, and I already knew my game plan. Actually, me and Kenny Wallach is a great friend of ours.
Oh, nice.
He
Love
helps
Kenny.
by posing. I mean, like, we stayed in the same hotel rooms with him. I mean, we're very close, and literally we just, after the show, we were both disappointed. I mean, it shows you something the kind of guy he is, because he was crying. I was more mad, not mad at the judge. I don't get mad at the judges. I was just mad because I was so close yet so far away,
Yeah,
And
you put so much into it, That's
other than when I'm not working, like you don't go out with friends or anything. Like, it's just you go to the gym and you do your thing, especially if you're working a full-time job. Yeah. So we both just said, I want to take the whole year off. When I come on stage, I want to bring something. My look's good, but I want to enhance it. I want to look good. And we were just, from the day of Nationals finals, we knew that my next show was going to be Nationals 2019, and we just had a game plan on, how to bring the package. And my coach is Mandus Buckle, and he was on board with that. And, we just got a game plan down. I added a lot of quality size in the areas that I need to because I have a wider waist. Not so much like a distended gut, more or less like just my hip bones, like from east to west, are not going to be like, let's just be honest, like a black guy who might have a 28, 30-inch waist. So we have to add muscle elsewhere to try to, accentuate my taper. So
Absolutely.
That's what we've worked on the past year. So hopefully the judges will see that. And my biggest thing is obviously my goal is to turn pro. That's like my life goal is, I want to be pro. I don't, I'm not a delusional person. Like once I turn pro, I'm going to the Olympia stage. I'm never going to make the Olympia. I just want to turn pro, be a consistent, decent pro. I know my genetic boundaries and everything like that. And, that's just kind of what we're shooting for. But if I can go into this show and just be substantially better than I was last year, that's always my goal, is just be better than I was at the last show. So if I did that, then, it's in the judges' hands, whatever they decide. And, but I know I did my job if I'm better at this Nationals than I was at the last Nationals.
I think that's a great attitude to have. It really is, especially for any of the newer guys out there that have it in their mind that, hey, I'm going to compete. I'm going to turn pro one day. I mean, realistically, you're talking to somebody, you said that you've competed at 8 national shows now. And,
national show.
And you're knocking at the door. But I mean, and you're one of the guys who's been doing very well. I would consider you to be still, even though you have not turned pro yet, I would still consider you a success story, as far as competitive bodybuilding goes. It's, with
bodybuilding too, it's, and like I said, I don't want to turn the whole interview this way, but to be a pro super heavyweight bodybuilder is like the hardest thing to do.
Sure,
I'm not competing in bikini. I'm not competing in men's physique. It's hard. It's very, very hard, especially as a super heavyweight, because those are the ones who usually go to the Olympia stage. Very rarely do you see a bantamweight, doing anything as a pro. You know what I mean? And there's no knock on those guys, but it's just the truth. So, it's hard. But that's my kind of thing. I want to do this till I turn pro, do a few pro shows, always live the lifestyle, but this is my goal. But if I don't reach my goal this year, then, as long as I'm better, and as long as, I always say this, as long as I'm better, as long as I don't cheat on my diet, as long as I don't miss any training sessions, don't miss any cardio sessions, at the end of the day, that's all you can do. And then you just leave it in the judge's hands and say, hey, I've done everything I've been asked to do. I paid my dues, and, here you go.
Absolutely. So super heavyweight, what do you come in at ballpark on stage? What have you historically come in at?
Scott, this is a thing. So, which I was kind of freaking out. So typically the week of my show, I'm typically around like 250 to 255.
Okay.
Through water manipulation and everything. I hold a lot of water. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I'm on insulin, so that makes me hold a lot of water. I have to do some pretty harsh things to strip the water away. So I'll typically go from 255 on stage. I'm about 245. So the last few weeks I was freaking out, because, and this is why you take progress pictures, I haven't competed in a year. I have made substantial, strides in my physique. Right now, this morning, I weigh 269 on the dot.
Oh, God.
So this is what I do, and that kind of freaks me out, because I'm just like,
when you just look at the numbers.
I'm not cheating on my diet. I'm not skipping cardio. I'm not skipping anything. I'm not doing anything different. In all honesty, I'm working harder now than I ever have. Yeah. But that's why I go to my Instagram layout app. I put one picture next to the other, and I'm just a lot bigger. I have a lot more mass. I would say my conditioning now is way better. And I posted a picture on my Instagram last week of the same shot, a year's difference. I have a lot more muscle, and my conditioning is better now than it was last year. But when you just simply look at that scale, you're like, oh crap, I'm doing an hour of cardio. Do I need to do 3 hours, 4 hours? Like, what do I have to do to get it done? But that's why you gotta that's why you got to have people with good eyes in your corner, and that's why you got to take progress pictures. You got to take measurements. You just can't simply go by the scale only. And I haven't competed in a year, and my whole goal is to add size. So, I mean, I guess I've added quite a bit of size.
Okay, so a couple things that we want to get into here. I definitely want to talk to you about being a bodybuilder and being a type 1 diabetic. But before we get into that, a lot of the guys who are watching this, they're watching this to learn, and they want to know, how can I put on the kind of muscle that Brent put on in a year? Talk to us, man. Tell us what some of your thoughts are, things that say could potentially help others that could, try to achieve, maybe not even what you've done, but even a fraction of it. Cause I mean, that's a huge difference.
So typically, but that's my show week. My show week, I'm usually 255, and I go to 245, right? I'm 245 on stage. Right now, at 3.5 weeks out, I'm 269. So I think at like 3.5 weeks out last year, I was about like 260, 261. Okay. So I'm about 7-8 pounds heavier.
Okay.
So we're looking at about 7-8 pounds.
That's realistic.
Which is realistic. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, for me to get rid of all my water and everything with my insulin, like at the very end, I just got to suffer pretty hard. But as far as the training, I mean, the thing is that as far as the training is just to train hard year round. Don't skip your workouts and have a plan. Don't just go to the gym and say, okay, I'm going to train legs. Yeah. No, you need to periodize your training. I'm a big believer in you don't need to go heavy with low reps all the time. You need to mix in some different rep schemes. You need to mix in some different rep tempos, some cluster sets. You need to change things up because as soon as you get bored, your body's been bored, a month ago. So, and if you need help with that, there's coaches, there's ebooks, there's, just talk to bodybuilders. I mean, most bodybuilders you talk to will help you out. So, as far as that, I'm a firm believer too in not getting too fat in the off season. I keep cardio in year round. I think this off season I got up to, although I can still see that. I always say you will always want to see the outline of your abs. So I was 310, I think, and I could still see the outline of my abs.
Okay.
I was softer, but I wouldn't consider myself fat. You know what I mean? I ate enough to where I felt like I could gain muscle, but I could still see my muscle insertions. I still look like a bodybuilder. I didn't look like a fat slob like a lot of guys get. Yeah. I think that's first and foremost. I think with your nutrition, I'm a firm believer in, obviously getting your protein, carbs, and fats in, putting a lot of your carbs around your workout, pre and post workout. Nutrition, I think, is very key. Not skipping meals. Yeah. A lot of people might have a few cheat meals on a Saturday that are carb driven and they don't have any protein. They're not eating a lot. They're not looking at their macros. And then, just doing it day in and day out. It's just discipline. Most people these days just do not have the discipline to do it, and I don't skip a workout for anything, and I don't skip a meal for anything, and I think you can have that mindset unless you have superior genetics, and you can rely on those genetics to really, make an impact.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a lot to say. You don't skip a workout. You don't skip a meal. It's easy to say, okay, I'm going to go into the next off season with that mindset and do that. But then in the reality, things come up. Right.
Life happens, and there does need to be balance, but you can still work around it. I mean, I have a wife and we have a life, and I have parents, I have friends and things like that. But, planning is a lot, just planning, on a Friday night. If you ask me to go do something on a Friday or Saturday night and you're asking me last minute, the answer is no, I got to get my workout in. But if I know in advance a few weeks and hey, I can work around that, I can get my workout in at an earlier time, I can kind of move some things around. But, if you really want to, do anything in the sport, you got to make some sacrifices, but at the same time, you can't neglect the people who love you and, your family and, the people who, support you. So I think it's a fine line to balance it, but if you're smart and if you're diligent about it, you can definitely do it.
Yeah. I like that message. So it sounds like, sacrifice, but more importantly, you're calling it a priority. You're making sure that you take care of it. How many times a week do you go to the gym and train with weights?
Here's the thing. So I do train people on the side.
Okay.
I would never really recommend this to anybody. I am, but I'm a type A personality. If I'm not doing something every minute, then I just get bored. But to answer your question, I hate to even admit this, but I train every day.
Oh,
I literally
don't listen, guys. We're gonna edit this
don't
part
listen
out.
To me. Yeah, don't listen. No, but here's the thing: like when I make plans for everybody, I don't have anybody else do that. But I love
of course not.
I love to lift weights,
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
So if I feel like I need a day off, I'll take a day off. So maybe every 3-4 weeks I'll take a day off. But I just love the gym, and everybody's like, well, you're going to overtrain. You're not going to make any results, this and that. And it's like, one of my strengths is my size, and I'm a pretty big guy, so it hasn't really hurt me too much so far. I know when I get a little bit older, if my joints can't take it, I'm going to have to do some things. But that's my therapy. That's my therapy session. I thoroughly enjoy going to the gym and training. Like when this whole bodybuilding thing's over with, I will still continue to train because I just love doing it. That is my passion. That's what I love to do. I love training above the diet, above the cardio, above everything. I mean I just love to be in the gym. So I hate to even answer that question, but if I'm honest, man, I'm in the gym every day.
Well,
I'm hammering it hard too.
So you're going hard 7 days a week, man. That's crazy.
But I periodize too. So I'm not I'm not a big person who tries for PRs and things like that. But, I would say, I'll have weeks where I go 6 to 8 reps. I'll have weeks where I go 10 to 12 reps, 15 to 20 reps, but I'm constantly periodizing it because if I went 6 to 8 reps, very, very heavy weight, there's no way my joints could handle that. But, utilizing time under tension, different strategies like that. I mean, I recover very good. So like I said, if I feel like I need a day off, I'll take it. I'm not saying for anybody else to really listen to what I'm doing, but I'm just being honest. That's me, man.
Well, fair enough.
I'm in there every day.
I appreciate that honesty. So tell me about being a type 1 diabetic and still being able to get into the condition it takes. I mean, how does that affect your nutrition and your diet?
Oh gosh, man. Pretty much I just have to eat like a bikini competitor at the end, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Insulin is a double-edged sword, and it's just crazy because I've had bodybuilders come up to me and say, man, it must be awesome being a diabetic because think of, the insulin's, shuttling those nutrients and think of how big you are. And I just look at it and I'm like, I've been a diabetic since I've been 4 years old. Yeah. If I could give it up in a second, I would give this disease up in a second, but I can't. Like my pancreas produces 0 insulin, so I have to be on the insulin pump. So does it help with me adding size and adding a lot of mass? Yes, it does. Not going to lie about that.
Did you say you use a pump?
Yeah, I use an insulin pump. I have it connected to my body right now. So in my off season when I'm training, I think for recovery too, I mean, it makes a big difference in the amount of muscle I can put on. But on the flip side of that, to get the fat off of me and to get into the condition that I'm known for and the hard, grainy physique that I'm known for, I have to suffer. The last few weeks, there's no carbs, very little fats, just pretty much protein and veggies, and I've had to learn that. When I first started competing, I always kind of struggled with my condition. And now it's funny is that's kind of what I'm known for now. I'm known as a big competitor who gets rock hard and who's brainy. I don't have the best shape, but, I deal with the cards that I've been given. So at the end, the last 12 days or so, like I said, protein's there, very lean sources, veggies are there, and it's pretty much it. But the thing is that I've got to do that in order to lower my insulin intake. Because obviously the more insulin that my body is using, the harder it is going to be get rid of that last little bit of fat that I have. So I know that for me, I have to really go to the ends to suffer, which is why anymore too, I am only one really going to do one show a year just because it's so hard on my body. It's not easy. And I don't want to go into a show halfway. So anymore, I think I'm going to just diet down once a year, hit a show, hit a second show, maybe, and then just call it good. So that's kind of what I got to go from. So like on an average day in prep, like maybe when I'm 16 weeks out, I might use 150 units of insulin a day, total daily, just to keep my blood sugars level. And the last few weeks, it might be 25, 30 units of insulin.
Wow.
But I have to do that because if I'm pumping all that insulin in the last few weeks, there's no way I'm going to be in shape. Sure. So what do I have to do since my body doesn't produce insulin? Is I've literally just got to suffer. That's why I crack up when these super heavyweights say, man, I'm just really struggling on 300-400 grams of carbs a day. I'm like, dude, You have no idea. You have no idea. And my body's different, you know, and I mean, I understand that suffering for them,
Yeah.
but when they're saying all the food they're getting, I'm just kind of like, man, must be nice. But on the other end, I know that, you know, I know what it takes to get into shape because I've been doing this for a long time. So, I mean, that's just kind of, if I'm going to do this, then I want to make sure I'm at my best. And that's just kind of what I have to do. And I don't expect any sympathy from it. It's just the cards that I've been given. And, you know, luckily I have the mental fortitude to go to that dark place and suffer for a little bit, you know, before a show. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, how does that affect you then when you're filling out? Because you're going to have to obviously, you're going to add carbs in.
So easy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so easy, man. It's so easy. So typically, so a Friday show, Nationals prejudging is on Friday. I'm the type of person, we all know the show's one on Friday. So I'm literally until Wednesday. I'll start fat loading. So Wednesday I'll start fat loading, just kind of help start that process a little bit. And I always notice I do better with the fat load before I hit the carbs hard. And I'm not going to lie, and it's different every show, but on Thursday before the show, I mean, it's insane how many carbs I've been taking, and I start hitting that insulin pump. And then when I start cutting my water back, I mean, I'll do this show. I'll take pictures before I start carb loading, and then I'll take pictures right before the show in a 24-hour time period.
Yeah.
It's crazy how my body transforms because you get the super compensation effect. You know, that insulin helps filling out that muscle. You already water manipulate. You're cutting your water back. So, I mean, I go from looking like complete dog poo because I'm so flat the day before my show to, you know, looking looking presentable to my standards, at least, you know, the day of the show. But yeah, obviously that insulin, I don't have to load for 2 to 3 days like some of these guys do. I eat carbs, and for every carb I have to have a certain amount of insulin. I put that insulin in my body, and my body just soaks that thing up. So it's good at the end because, you know, it's helping me fill out, but it's definitely not good the 16 weeks prior to having to use, you know, all that insulin, you know. But sure. Like I said, it's a hand I've been given in life, and, you know, at least I'm able to do this and have fun with it. And maybe people, you know, who are diabetics who are interested in the sport, you know, can, you know, learn a thing or two, or I can help somebody out, you know. So it's always about paying it forward and, you know, trying to pay it forward in whatever you do in life.
Absolutely. I like that attitude. Just curious, when you mentioned you start fat loading before you do the carb loading, how does, now I know that fats still do have an effect on blood sugar, of course, not as great as carbohydrates do. How does that affect your need for insulin? Is there any type of change with fats?
So when I take insulin, and granted at different times in prep, my sensitivity is a little bit different. My normal sensitivity is about 1 to 10. So every 10 grams of carbs is about 1 unit of insulin. A lot of times towards the end of prep, it might be 1 unit per every, you know, 15, 20 grams of carbs. And you kind of just have to monitor your blood sugar so you know how to do that. With fats, I think fats for me typically is, I usually go I think it's between a third and a fourth of the impact that carbs have. And it all depends on what time of day it is. So the great thing about the insulin pumps, I can check my blood and know what my blood sugar is. For instance, I know after this interview I'm going to do cardio. When I go do an hour or an hour and a half or however long I'm doing of cardio, I need to make sure that my blood sugar is at least in the 200s, for the simple fact that if it's not, I'm going to have to eat food because my blood sugar is going to tank because of exercise. So I've always got to be thinking ahead. You know what I mean? You know, short term, that's not going to hurt me. Long term, I would never do that. Yeah. But, you know, here's the thing with most people, just go do cardio and you'll be fine. Well, if my blood sugar is 100, I go do 60 minutes of cardio, I'm going to have to eat a lot of carbohydrate just for the simple fact that my blood sugar would probably go to 30 or 40 without it. And at this stage of the game, being 3 weeks out and not being able to eat too many carbohydrates, I think right now I might be at, I don't even know, I'll have to see what the day is, but typically between 80 and 100. Okay. I can't eat anymore. You know what I mean? That's not on my diet. So I can't do that. So I have to manipulate other factors like my blood sugar, you know, because I always got to be thinking ahead, you know, in doing that. And especially cardio tanks my blood sugar the quickest. Weight training tanks it a little bit. But man, when I do cardio, I got to make sure I'm in the low to mid 200s or my my blood sugar will tank, and then I'll have to eat carbs and eat calories, and then that would not be a good thing. So
you got to think ahead. You could screw the whole day up, which could, throw off your entire week with, if you needed too many carbs. Hey, before we started, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say too, before we were on here, I know we were talking about like fasted, non-fasted.
I was just going to ask you about that. Yep.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's one of the reasons why I don't do fasted cardio this prep is because typically, when I'm awake, I can tell right now about what my blood sugar is, even without checking. I've been a diabetic so long. Yeah. There's many mornings where I would wake up in the morning and my blood sugar would be like, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. to do my cardio and my blood sugar would be like 120, which is where it should be, right? Yeah. But I can't on a fasted stomach go do 40 to 60, 70 minutes of cardio because I don't get carbs my first meal. You know what I mean? So I can't do that. So I just, in my cardio in the morning sucked. I, did a lot of research on between fasted and non-fasted cardio. And for me, this prep, I really don't think the scientific evidence supports really that fasted is better than non-fasted. So I've been doing non-fasted cardio. And that way I'm able to, I know what time I'm doing my cardio. I can manipulate my blood sugars so I don't get in trouble where my blood sugar's tanking. And then I have a choice. Do I want to maybe pass out from a low blood sugar or eat carbohydrate? You know what I mean? And that's not healthy. That's not, and then it puts me in a bad decision because then if I eat, I feel like I failed on my diet and I cheated, which will haunt me all day long. And then if I don't eat, guess what? I could be driving to school and pass out and hit a car or right. Hurt somebody. So for me anymore, it hasn't, obviously the pictures show and my physique shows it hasn't hurt me not doing the fasted cardio. So for me, this prep, I have not done fasted cardio. So just so I can manipulate my blood sugars a little bit better, in order to, do my cardio. Because when I'm sleeping, I really can't control my blood sugar just because I'm at sleep and I can't really feel, where I'm at. So.
Yeah, that's, and I think one of the things we were also talking about is that you said you feel like later in the day, after you've eaten, you have a better output, that the quality of your cardio is better.
Yeah, man.
It's a matter of that you've been listening to your body. You listen to your body and you've realized that, hey, I can have a better cardio session at this different time of day. So I do think that, there could be something beneficial in fasted cardio for one guy. And obviously for yourself, that hasn't been the case. It's not to say that fasted cardio isn't a great thing for some people, but I think it's a good point right here that you've been doing this for a long time and that you've learned something about yourself.
Yeah, we're probably going to get a lot of comments. Oh, Brent's getting soft on us. He's not really good for doing this cardio, da-da-da-da. And that was my mindset at first. It was because it's like, am I getting softer? What's going on? But I've never worked harder in a prep than I have right now. And, it's just one of those things. I was like, okay, I'm going to just try to do it non-fasted because I can control my blood sugars better. Yeah. If I feel like my body is not responding as well, or if I'm not dropping the body fat, then I will go back to doing that. But for me, it's working better. And like you said, like my output's a lot better. I'm not a morning person. So at 4 a.m., it's just like I'm just dredging through it. Whereas my food's pretty low now. So I'm not saying it's pretty, but I'm able to get a lot more out of my body when I do it at a different time as well. So, but
the carbs are still, you said it's usually the last couple of weeks that things are the real.
Yeah. Right now, right now my carbs, depending on the day, are between like 100 and 120 a day.
Okay.
Probably the next week it'll go down to about 60, and in the last 10, 12 days, trace. So,
as you called it, bikini girl level carbs.
bikini girl level. But here's the thing, though. Like my protein doesn't drop. My protein, I keep my protein high because protein really has a negligible effect on blood sugar. When I eat protein, I don't count that towards my blood sugar because it has such a little effect on your blood sugar. So when I'm eating egg whites, when I'm eating fish, when I'm eating chicken breast, when I'm eating, 96% lean ground beef, whatever the protein source I'm eating, like I can literally, if I just have a protein only meal, it doesn't really raise my blood sugar whatsoever. So I do want to say that my protein stays very high. And I do have some fats in there, but the carbs are the carbs at the end are the killer, just because, they do have the most impact on blood sugar levels.
I see you're sponsored by Muscle Egg. I've noticed that, you got the shirt on. I've seen your posts and stuff. Do you use a lot of liquid egg white?
A lot, man. So the whole thing about that is, I'd say 7, 8 years ago, me and Autumn would literally go to any show they had, a show special. We'd order like 16 gallons at a time to get the show rate.
Yeah,
I'd have my parents' freezer, my friends' freezers, everything. And then, anyways, the owner was just like, why haven't we sponsored you guys yet? And I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we both got sponsored, and Ruben and Paul are really good friends of ours now, and it's a great product. I'm not somebody. The last week I do just because I don't even think it makes that much of an effect, but I just do it. Cut artificial sweeteners and artificial flavoring, but the amount of artificial, sweeteners that's in a whole gallon of muscle egg, the whole gallon is over 99% egg whites and less than 1% artificial sweetener. So, I keep that into the very, very end. So and I also have regular egg whites too. So,
do you drink them or do you cook them or what do you do with those?
Well, in my off season when I'm getting plenty of food, I'll drink them because I like to drink them better. But to satiate my stomach, now I cook. I cook them. Have my 2 cups, cook it, and sprinkle whatever seasonings I want on it, and then good to go.
Right. So how long have you and Autumn been together? And I should mention Autumn Swansen, IFBB pro. When did she turn pro? How many years ago was that now?
Gosh. It was before she went to physical therapy school.
Okay.
So I think maybe 2013.
Okay. So it's
maybe
been a
2000.
while. Wow. Okay.
Junior nationals in fitness. She went to physical therapy school. We did the whole long distance relationship.
So you'd been together before that, before she left for school even. And you made it through, through that period.
So here's a crazy story. I'll give you the brief version just for time's sake. But she lived in Kentucky and she was in a Beverly International magazine. And I literally read the magazine article. She talked about her faith a lot. We're both people of faith. And obviously a smoking hot girl, and just her whole attitude. I was like, man, this girl's really has it together. Yeah. Make a long story short, I just kind of felt a nudge. I wanted to reach out, and that's before catfishing and all that stuff happened on Facebook. Facebook had just came out. So I sent her a message on Facebook. We started talking back and forth for a long time. Yeah. I was getting ready for a show. I was 21. I'm 33 now. I'll be 34. And, I knew I was in because the day before my show, she said, well, I would wish you good luck, but I don't have your phone number. So I was like, okay, I'm in.
Nice.
So she called me, and then we did a whole long, we were talking on the phone hour or 2 every night. And then from there, my sister actually went to medical school in Louisville, Kentucky, which is about an hour from her. Yep. I went down to visit my sister. She came up and we spent the weekend together, and then did the whole long distance relationship. She moved up to Illinois for a year, then went back to physical therapy school. After that, we got married, and that's kind of the fast forwarded version of our story. So we've been together since I've been 21. So that's been 12 and a half years. So,
okay. Wow. So what's it like, being in the house with 2 competitors, 2 people that are serious about what you're doing? It's easy, yet it's hard.
I would say the easy part is there's nothing I'm not one of those people who get tempted to cheat on my diet because I'm just focused. Yeah. If you look in our cupboards, there's nothing if I wanted to cheat right now, if I was like, Scott, let's get some food. Yeah. You're going to find a bunch of chicken, egg white. I don't have to go to the store, and I'm lazy. So I'm not going to go to the store to do that. And I'm not going to sacrifice my prep for that. So it's easy for the fact that there's nothing in the house. She supports me. I support her. But the last few weeks, I don't have a lot of extra energy, so we're not going out on dates. We're not really doing a lot just because after the gym and after I do cardio, I just wanted to sleep. You know what I mean? The last few weeks, you don't want to do too much. So, but she supports me and I support her. It's the same way with her when she did all these shows this past year. And I'm a teacher, so I get my summers off. Oh, yeah. I'll be wanting to go out. We live on the lake. I was wanting to go out on the boat and everything, and she didn't. And I get that, you know what I mean? Because I'd be the same way. So there's a lot of days that I would go out with my friends, or I just wouldn't go out at all on the lake for a few hours, and she'd just be in here suffering. So I know when I'm suffering, she knows what I go through. When she's suffering, I know what she's going through. So there's that mutual respect, and we both get it. There's never a time where if she wants to go out and do something, I'm just like, oh, stay with me and suffer. No, go out and live your life, have fun. You know what I mean? So I think It's great if both people do it. I've seen a lot of relationships, though, where you have one competitor and one non-competitor, and just sadly, just for what the sport takes out of you, there's a lot of divorces, there's a lot of failed relationships. And that's why at the beginning of the show, I said balance is key. You don't want to skip on your diet or skip on your workouts or anything like that. But on the flip side, like, you can't cut out people who love you and who are there for you either. So you've got to plan ahead, and you just have to be just really, you kind of have to be a time manager.
Yeah.
You have to, life is not all about you. Like right now in prep, even though I'm suffering, guess what? Like the world still goes on. There's still bills that need to be paid. There's still a job that I have to go to.
Sure.
So while all of my free time is devoted right now to this, like there's still responsibilities in life that you must do, or like it just kind of makes you a crappy person, if I'm being honest, if you don't fulfill those obligations first.
Yeah. No, I've always said too, I mean, like years ago, I used to think that the idea of being a hardcore bodybuilder was, living at Gold's and, sleeping on the beach during the day and training and eating and laying around. But hardcore is doing what you're doing. Hardcore is being able to maintain a life, being able to be a productive member of society, being able to be a good husband, being able to be a role model to the kids that you teach, and being able to do everything you need to do and overturn all the stones that you have to overturn in order to be your best. To me, that really is the definition of what hardcore is. Not to mention, something we haven't even talked about. This is something that you've worked on for a really long time. You didn't just decide like, I'm going to become a bodybuilder, and then 6 months later you have this before and after picture on Instagram. You have been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah.
Man. And I think it's important
that we
talk about that.
Yeah, the sad thing is people have no patience these days. I started working out and when I was 14 years old for sports, and not just here and there for sports. Like I was in the gym every day, kind of like you said, you started lifting weights and having splits when you were in high school. And I literally haven't stopped since. And it's just because I love to do it. And then I didn't know what bodybuilding was when I first started lifting weights. And then when I was 20 years old, a guy in town who competed said, "Man, you do pretty good. You should think about entering some contests." So I entered my first contest when I was 20, and I've competed every year since. So I've been competing for 14 years, and that's why all these people just want it all now. And you got to do it because you love it. And you have to do it for the lifestyle. I mean, I'm still going to live the same lifestyle. I mean, I won't be when my competitive days are over. I'm still going to eat right. I'm still going to go to the gym. I'm still going to live the lifestyle because that's ingrained in me, and that's the lifestyle I want to choose. But when you see all these kids these days that just want everything now and have no patience, it just in all honesty just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Just because I don't. This is not the way to do it, and especially with supplementation and things like that. People who rush too fast and want to get too big too quick and cut corners. Like it's just not. That's not what the sport is to me.
Yeah. I
mean, I understand that there's things that people take and things like that, but when you see some of these crazy things that people are doing, man, it's I don't think it's the healthiest. I don't think it's the wisest. And I just want to say, just shut up and pay your dues. It's just not. It's just not. We just live in a society who wants everything now, and it's just sad that most, I shouldn't say all, but most just don't have the dedication to stick it out for the long haul.
I think, sometimes it's like the goals are different. You see, you want the instant gratification of being popular, getting a social media following that's huge because you look great. And that's different than where you're coming at it from. But hopefully some of those kids will fall in love with the process, because that's really it. It's the process, I think, that you really fall in love with bodybuilding, the consistency that you build every day. The ability to set goals and reach them. I mean, man, you set some huge goals this past year and you've made some big accomplishments. And now it's been an entire year of, as you said, not missing a meal, not missing a workout. And when you put those side-by-side pictures together, it's been a year now, but you get to reap the benefits, the reward of that. Right. And that really is, I think, what bodybuilding is about right there,
I agree. And, I think bodybuilding is for to anybody and to everybody. And the thing is that, there's only so many people who are Flex Wheeler, who are Dorian Yates, who are all these people who can't afford, who have these big contracts, who can't afford to go to Gold's Gym or, wherever they're going now and to live that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But for 99.9% of people, that's not us. You know what I mean? That's not, that's not not everybody is gifted in that way. And so it's just like, you can't live your bodybuilding life to try to reach those goals, because it's got to be for yourself. Because if you have those lofty goals, for the 0.001%, that's great. Maybe you can do that. But for the majority of people, they're going to be, chasing a ghost.
Sure. All right, listen, I got one more question for you, because we're running long,
Yes.
but I got to throw this in here.
Yeah.
Who is the Cubs warrior, and what is this guy all about?
All right. So, actually, growing up, the Ultimate Warrior, man, so when I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. My mom, my dad got divorced. My biological dad was not the best guy at the time. So anyways, I had a lot of stuff going on, and I kind of just fell in love with wrestling, fell in love with Hulk Hogan, fell in love with Ultimate Warrior, things like that. You looked at the Ultimate Warrior, and his physique was just like, I was like, that's a guy I want to look like, what I mean? Like, as a little boy, because it made an impression, because he just looked like he was granite, just made out of stone. It looked like he was a comic book character in real life. So anyways, fast forward, I was the hugest fan. Fast forward to when I was 23, 24 years old, I saw online where he was selling his gym equipment in Arizona, which my sister lives in Arizona. So I reached out to him and was like, hey, man, how, at the time I was looking to start a gym, I was like, how much are you asking for your gym? This and that. And he's like, well, if you're really serious, go ahead and come out here and I want to show you everything. So literally it's all the old school 90s stuff. He literally, back in I think 1992 or 93, he showed me the receipts. It was like I think it was about $225,000 worth of gym equipment.
Wow.
I had somebody backing me to try to make this gym happen.
Yeah.
That person went to the wayside. So I called him. I was like, man, my investor, went awry. I do have some of my own personal money, I just don't think I can do this. Yeah. And he'd had it in storage for a few years. And, we really kind of had a connection when he met me. And he was just like, well, how much can you give me for it? I said, in all honesty, I was just out of college. I was like, I can give you $25,000 for it.
Okay.
And I had another buddy at the time who was going to pitch in money with me. He's like, that's fine. And he says, I really like you, and I just think that you're going to do some cool things with it. So just pay me $25,000. And
you're kidding me.
So paid him. I'm not kidding you. So paid $25,000, flew out to Arizona, got it was a full gym. It was literally like all the old school hammer strength, body masters, all the good stuff, right? Not the cheap crap that are made now. Yeah. I think it was like 4 or 5, like the 26-foot budget trucks loaded top to bottom, drove from Arizona to Illinois. Literally the axle was like this because it was so weighted down.
Yeah.
Those trucks were demolished when we returned them, probably. Anyways, so me and my buddy's actually a repo guy. We have it in his, he has a huge pole barn. We have it in there. And then I work out between there and we have a local gym that's 2 minutes from the house. So I lift at both places. But to make a long story short, even after
you still have that then. From him, you still have all.
Oh yeah, we still have it. I'll work out there tomorrow. Yeah.
Nice.
So anyways, the cool thing about him is that he literally would call me afterward and say, hey man, how's it going? How's the gym going? How's your training going? Because he was still, like to follow bodybuilding. Yeah. And he would literally, I'd probably say 6 months after I made the purchase, he wasn't just trying to get money out of me. We really had a relationship. He would call me. We would, talk about just different things. We just really kind of connected.
That's so cool.
And then, sadly, over time, we didn't talk as much. And then all of a sudden I wake up one day and knew that he had a heart attack and died.
Yeah.
So I had that bit of my run-in with him, and then I'm the hugest Cubs fan in the world. My stepdad played for the Chicago Cubs. I was raised a Chicago Cubs fan. When they made the playoffs in the World Series, the curse they hadn't won in over 100 years, I was like, we need to do something funny about this. So yeah. I just thought, what could I do? Because I was going to a lot of the playoff games. I was like, I'm gonna be the Cub Warrior, and I was getting ready for 2016 Nationals, which I placed 4th at. And I was already in great shape, so I dressed up as a Cub Warrior. I would go just crazy on the streets of Chicago, doing old wrestling promos and things like that. So to make a long story short, WGN had me on their thing, and then Fox Sports contacted me And at first I thought it was like a spam. He Instagrammed me, said, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, I work for Fox Sports. We would like to, pay you a little bit of money, do some promos, and we'll use them on our Instagram, Facebook, whatever. You can come up to the games, be on the pregame and things like that."
You're kidding.
So I was like, as a Cubs fan, I was like, awesome. Like, this is great, So that's how that kind of happened. And then the last few playoff games I went to, I'd go there and I'd go like actually in the Fox booth where like Alex Rodriguez and Frank Thomas and all those guys were. And I would like do like a silly promo for them. And then I'd literally, once the game started, then I would actually go into the game. And I actually got to see them win the pennant. So as a Cubs fan, that was a dream. It was just a really cool thing. And at first I was like, man, this is either going to really tank and people are going to think I am out of my mind, or this is going to be a really cool thing. So I'm glad I rolled the dice, because it ended up being a pretty cool thing.
That's badass, man. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time, man. I can see how someone would connect to you. You that you guys would carry on, a continued relationship. You're the kind of guy, man. I can tell you are a positive person. I imagine that people throughout your life gravitate toward you. I can see how, you're a benefit at the school. And I can see, man, how you're a benefit to bodybuilding. I think bodybuilding needs more people like you. So I just want to say thank you for doing everything that you're doing, just being who you are. I think it's pretty cool, man.
I'm never short on words. So, this could be a 3-hour podcast if we wanted to, but for your guys' sake, we'll cut it off now.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. Check it out. Nationals is going to be coming up in just a few weeks from now. We're going to see Brent Swansen there. And we'd love to have you on, man, especially, if you win, we'll put the IFBB Pro in front of your name. Yeah,
man, that'd be a dream. That would be great. That's what I'm shooting for. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, everybody just keeps, and I love Dave. Dave is blowing me up and just trying to keep me focused. And I do think, I'm going to be good enough to win.
Yeah.
But I have been in the top 5 like numerous times, which is always, to me, is like, hey, if I'm in the top 5, I'm in the mix, that's good. Yeah. So my mind is winning, but on the other end, like, I know if I show up my best, I'll have a good shot. But at the end of the day, man, if I just do my best, and if I'm better than last year, it's ultimately in the judge's hands. So we'll just see what happens. So no promises, but that's what we're gunning for. So we'll see what happens here in a few short weeks.
Absolutely. I think that's the best attitude that you can take, man. You never know who's going to show up, and that's the other side of it.
Exactly.
So, all right, guys, for another episode of Think Big Bodybuilding Media and Advices Radio, I'm Scott McNally with Brent Swansen. We'll see you soon.